Today, let me tell you about the greatest love story in football history. A story with more drama than Posh and Bex, more passion than Neymar has for his sister, and more steamy sexual tension than Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp. No, today, I will tell you the heartwarming story of Mauro Icardi, Wanda Nara, and Maxi Lopez. A love story that has it all: lust, betrayal, and somehow charges of human trafficking. Now, our love story begins where many a great footballing tale has begun, at La Masia. Yes, the famed Barcelona academy that has produced a Dragon Ball Z roster full of the greatest beings in the universe to ever kick a ball. It was there that a young Mauro Icardi would have a fateful meeting with another Argentine attacker. No, not that one. I am talking about Maxi Lopez, who was an Argentine striker playing for Barcelona at the time. And young Icardi grew up idolizing Maxi Lopez. In fact, we can see in a picture right here of a young Icardi getting an autograph from Maxi Lopez during his time at Barcelona. Now, post-time skip, when it was time for Icardi to graduate from La Masia, he was talented, but not quite Barcelona first team talented. They had a pretty good team back then. So they ended up shipping him off to the Serie A in Sampdoria. And you know who else was playing in the Serie A at the time? Yes, his old idol, Maxi Lopez, who wanted to help his young compatriot out. He took him under his wing, helped him settle into the Italian culture, and even let him stay over at his house. And as fate would have it, Maxi would get loaned over to Sampdoria the next season. They were now teammates, and they grew even closer, with Maxi often bringing young Icardi on vacation with him. And this is how Icardi would meet Maxi Lopez's wife, Wanda Nara. Now, Wanda Nara is one of those nondescript celebrities that is extremely famous in Argentina for being hot and being on television. Basically, kind of think of her as the Kim Kardashian of Buenos Aires. And as the story goes, on these vacations, the then 29-year-old Wanda Nara and the then 23-year-old Mauro Icardi started to have a steamy affair behind the back of Icardi's former idol. And if you believe the tabloids, Wanda said that she was sex-starved during her marriage with Lopez, and she was finally able to satiate that hunger many times over with the young Mauro Icardi. In fact, Icardi would later claim they had once romped with each other a miraculous 15 times within a 24-hour period. And he would also claim that they would do the horizontal monster mash typically 12 times a day, which I call BS because I've seen this man stand on the pitch. There's no fucking way. Or conversely, maybe that is why his work rate is so poor, because he's absolutely exhausted from banging Wanda all the time. Anyway, Maxi catches wind of his young protege power drilling his wife 24/7 and proceeds to get a divorce. Of course, Wanda and Mauro deny these accusations, with Wanda saying that her and Maxi had already separated before she began hooking up with Icardi. But even if that is true, this is poor bro code to do your mans like this, your former idol, after everything he did for you. Easily top 10 anime betrayals in sports history. And it gets worse. The next season, Icardi transfers over to Inter Milan. In the lead up to them playing Sampdoria, the media dubbed the match the Wanda Derby. The back pages of both the Argentinian and Italian press were having a field day, posting pictures of Mauro and Wanda hanging out with Maxi's children. Maxi asked the press not to bring his kids into this, to which Icardi went on social media to respond, "Oh, the kids that you haven't seen for 2 weeks?" And then proceeded to post a pic of one of Maxi's kids falling asleep on his chest. Yeah, it was getting nasty. And it was only gonna get worse. Derby Day arrives, and in the pre-match handshakes, when Maxi and Icardi meet, Icardi offers his hand, but Maxi refuses to shake his hand and just looks past him. This incident was enough to confirm all the speculation pretty much in the eyes of the public. As for the match, it couldn't have gone any worse for Maxi Lopez, as Icardi would go on to score twice, while Maxi ended up missing a penalty in a 4-0 rout of Sampdoria. And then, just 1 month after crushing Maxi, Mauro and Wanda would get married just 5 months after her and Maxi got divorced, with the steamy couple welcoming in their first child only 8 months later. So if you do the math, there is a less than zero possibility that Icardi could have scored twice in the Wanda Derby, went home, scored again with Wanda to make her pregnant, earning himself maybe the most unique hat trick in football history. And as if stealing his wife, power fucking her into oblivion, then getting a transfer to a bigger club, then crushing him the next time you meet up, all the while the Argentinian and Italian press are going wild over Maxi getting cucked, isn't enough public humiliation. Shortly after Wanda and Icardi tie the knot, Mauro goes and gets all 3 of Maxi Lopez's kids' names tattooed onto his body, and then immediately posts it on social media with the biggest shit-eating grin you have ever seen. This man was living the ultimate power cuckold fantasy. If this was an anime, it would be entitled, I died and went to another world to cuckold my former bro at level 100. That was the levels of dominion this dude had over Maxi Lopez. There was no recovering from this, and at this point is where Maxi will exit left from the story for now. Which leads me to today's sponsor, Singalo. Listen, I know Valentine's Day just came and went, and we all need to fill that cold, lonely void in our heart the only way Footyhead knows how, by buying the sickest, hard-to-find kits from around the world to make ourselves feel superior to our friends. And that's what Singalo does. They are the official sellers of some of the best but lesser-known teams from across the world, allowing you to become the ultimate football hipster. Oh, this is just Ho Chi Minh City. Oh, you don't know about them? Just the 4-time champions of Vietnam, NBD, and getting to say that is worth the purchase alone. And if the reference toward Ho Chi Minh City might give your grandpappy a heart attack, they also have other kits, like this banger from Highlanders FC. Who are they? Oh, you don't know. They're just the 7-time champions of Zimbabwe. So if you want to get your hands on some of the sickest, rare kits in the game, then go ahead and click on the link on the top of the doobly-doo and start feeling better than your friends today. Thank you, Singalo. Now, back to the show. Now, let's hit you with a little bit of that anime time skip. We fast forward about 5 years, and during his 6 seasons at Inter, Icardi became a prolific goal scorer, twice winning the Golden Boot Award in the Serie A, and regularly contributing 20-plus goals this season, thus earning him the captain's armband before the 2015 season. So you would think that he would be quite beloved by the Inter fans. But in actuality, he would go down as one of the most hated captains of any sports team in modern history. His relationship with the Inter Ultras has been cagey at best, but it was taken to a completely different level when shortly after signing a huge contract extension with the club, Icardi would go on to release his autobiography entitled Always Forward, which is an amazing title, I must admit. But the audacity to write an autobiography at the age of 25 is wild to me. But it gets crazier, because in it, he wrote about an incident early on in his career, and after a particularly tough loss, Icardi went to the Inter fans who were not happy about the situation. It was there that he spotted a young boy, and in hopes to cheer him up, he took off his shirt and gave it to the kid. But then, one of the capos, a captain of the Ultras, came over, took the shirt off the kid's back, and threw it back at Icardi, to which Icardi let the Ultras have it, telling them off, and upon return to the dressing room, he said that he was welcomed as a hero by his teammates, because no one had ever had the guts to stand up to the Ultras like that. He went on to write in the book, and I quote, I'm ready to face them one by one. Maybe they don't know I grew up in one of the South American neighborhoods with the highest rates of crime and people killed in the street. How many are there? 50? 100? 200? Okay, record my message and let them hear it. I will bring 100 criminals from Argentina who will kill them on the spot. To which the Inter Ultras didn't take too well. And remember, he is the current captain of Inter when he decided to threaten Inter's most hardcore fans with murder. But oddly, that wasn't even the Ultras' biggest gripe. It was that Icardi apparently made up the whole thing about the kid. The Ultras that were there at that game alleged that it was all a fabrication to make Icardi seem more heroic in his book, and they demanded that he remove said fabrication from his biography, which Icardi actually does. So the revised version of Always Forward, that passage no longer exists. And while he would go on to admit that some parts of his books are exaggeration, he would also say that everything he wrote in there was true. So which is it, really? And then to top it off, just because it wasn't strange enough, the following season, he would go on to have the greatest goal-scoring season in his career, amassing 29 goals and winning his second Golden Boot title in Italy. It is very clear that this man thrives in negativity. It nourishes him. He's like a Sith Lord. Anger and hate only make him stronger, more powerful. Even if it's his own fans, who he threatened to murder. And Wanda during these 6 seasons kept busy. Beyond bearing Icardi 2 daughters, she also became Icardi's agent. And to her credit, she was the one who negotiated Icardi's giant extension with Inter. Alright, a little golf clap. But then she did a not so smart move, because in the middle of the 2019 season, a season where Icardi was in a bit of a slump to start the year, she thought it would be prudent to go on a Spanish language TV show and just shit all over the current coach of Inter and Icardi's teammates, basically saying that they were trash, scapegoating the entire team for Icardi's poor start to the season. This didn't go over well. Inter strips Icardi of his captaincy, which allegedly all the players were behind, and I mean, why wouldn't you be? This guy's wife just ripped you all a new one. Also, I'd like to point out that it wasn't Icardi threatening to murder 200 of Inter's biggest fans that lost him the captain's armband. That apparently was okay. No, it was his wife running her mouth. The priorities in Italy are fascinating, but I digress. Anyway, Icardi is incensed and refuses to play until he gets the captaincy back. Inter refused to budge, and Icardi spends 53 games in exile before he finally returns to Inter. He's eventually worked back into the team, but he never gets the captaincy back. And predictably, the following summer, he was shipped out, well, basically loaned out to PSG with the option to buy. And credit where credit's due, after all that controversy, Wanda did actually secure him a move to a bigger club. Now, before we move on to the Paris chapter of Icardi's life, we must talk about his time in Italy, where Icardi kept things interesting off the pitch as well. Allegedly, for 3 years, they kept an au pair prisoner in the rural Italian home by taking away her passport and her phone, forcing her to sleep on the floor of a utility room and live off of expired rice, all the while not paying her for 3 years of work. And this is from a man who has his own private jet. They were also accused of arson, as their neighbors had complained to the authorities that they had witnessed Wanda and Mauro burning furniture outside their home in Italy, which is even more confusing. You could have sold that ottoman to pay your au pair, or at least get her some good rice. But apparently, alleged human trafficking and arson charges weren't enough for Icardi, because after his move to Paris, Mauro allegedly begins an affair with a rival Argentinian model, a lovely woman named China Suarez. Wanda can sniff the infidelity out like a truffle pig and breaks it off with Icardi through the medium that she is most comfortable expressing herself in, Insta. She goes and posts, "Another family you have ruined for a slut," which is like, wait, hold on. Which family are you talking about here? Because if I'm reading the situation right, this is a little bit of a Spider-Man meme going on, okay? A little bit of calling the kettle black here. Wanda, incensed, takes the kids and leaves for Argentina and just goes on a tirade on social media, bashing Icardi. Icardi, in the meantime, is inconsolable after Wanda leaves him. He can't do anything. He just wants to get her back. So he hatches a brilliant scheme, and that is, he will go on strike from playing football. He tells PSG that he will not train or play with the team until Wanda takes him back. And PSG, for some reason, accept these terms. They said, fuck it. Go get your Instagram model wife back. Icardi flies to Argentina, appears on Argentine television, begging for Wanda to take him back. And then, when this news is all breaking, in Argentina and Italy, tabloids are just eating all this up, from the darkness emerges one Maxi Lopez, who simply posts on Insta, "Do you believe in karma?" Oh, Maxi had been waiting for that one. Now, after a sufficient amount of groveling and begging, Wanda actually ends up taking Icardi back. She somewhat forgives him, but she doesn't forget, and the rocky marriage continues on. Now, Icardi, I don't know where he got the gall from this, because he's the one who cheated. Upon being taken back, he has a list of demands, and his weird demands for her taking him back include posting a picture of their kids on social media, then deleting all of her social media, and then demanding that she can no longer fly on his private jet unless he is there with her. I don't know, man. This is not a man of logic, but I guess always forward, right? Anyway, PSG get fed up with his shit and ship him off to Galatasaray, where once again, he produces. In fact, he led Galatasaray to a Turkish title. And if you're thinking, oh, he played well again? That must mean that he was in the middle of some drama. And your assumption would be correct, because during his time in Turkey, Wanda would announce that the two were finally getting divorced. Heartbreak. She once again runs off to Argentina, where she is soon spotted shacking up with Argentine rapper, and I'm not making this name up, Elegante. When Icardi sees this, he can't take it, and he says, "Let's run it back. I'm going on football strike again." He leaves Galatasaray, flies to Argentina, and goes directly to the hotel that she's supposedly staying at. This grandiose display of groveling doesn't work this time. He doesn't win her back for a couple of months. But eventually, these two toxic motherfuckers realize that they're meant for each other, for better and usually worse. And so, they rekindle their relationship. And guess what? He rejoins Galatasaray and continues to kick ass, leading them to their first win ever against Man United in their history, and then went on to surpass Galatasaray legend George Hagi for most goals scored in derby games of any foreign player in their history. The man, especially when he's in the midst of controversy, is really good at putting the ball in the back of a net, which makes it curious to why he's never prominently been featured for the Argentinian national team. He's been one of the best strikers in the world during this era, and a player that has proven to come up big in the biggest pressure moments. Now, a lot of that pressure is his own making, and his penchant for going AWOL every time his wife breaks up with him does kind of make him a liability, I'll admit. But still, even as a bench player, a super sub, he could have been useful. Well, if you would believe Icardi, he claims that it is because Lionel Messi doesn't like him. And yeah, that's Lionel Messi. Whoever that man wants to be on the Argentina team, that's who's going to be on the team. So why on earth would he not want another prolific goal scorer by his side? Well, remember when I said that Messi, Maxi, and Icardi were all at Barcelona at the same time? Or you know who Maxi Lopez was also really nice to? Yeah. And you know who Lionel Messi became really close friends with during his time at Barcelona? Yeah, Maxi Lopez. And when you see this demon spawn destroy your bro's life like this, would you want him as a teammate? And that is probably the main reason why Icardi doesn't have a World Cup medal. So the lesson of the day, kids, is don't fuck your bro's wives. Don't do it, you idiot.